Awesome, guys. Well, like Ben said, I'm super stoked to be here. Like unbelievably excited. I know anybody that talks after lunch, we're always dealing with like the post-taco lulls. So I'm gonna get excited because I actually am excited because I think Facebook ads are one of the most amazing tools available to all of us today. A lot of people are using them really well and getting great results. A lot of people are using them less well and getting less than great results, and that's what we're gonna try and fix here. So I'm not going to talk about mindset other than one thing, because I'm not the mindset guy, and fortunately we've got Cameron here who's amazing. But the one thing we have to accept is that Facebook ads work, right? Like we know they work. They've worked for other businesses, they've worked for other people like us, so we know they can work. So the question is, why aren't they working for us to the level that we want them to, and what can we do to change that? So the beauty of Facebook ads is that we all have access to the exact same platform. It's not like I get a different Facebook ads thing being an agency owner than we do as service providers or whatever it is. So then obviously, what's separating the results has to do with the strategies that we're using. And that's the thing, is that I've had a couple calls with some people here before. Raise hands if we've had a few chats. Right on. Oh, this table. Good stuff. So the thing is that what often happens is we often have tactical type questions. That's a question that comes up a lot. People ask about optimizations around placements. We talk about budgets. We talk about how to split up ad sets. And we talk about all this tactical stuff, which is important. But the reality is that if we don't have it grounded in a really solid strategic foundation, it just doesn't matter. And the tactical stuff is actually really simple. Like we could wrap that off in like 20 minutes. So we can talk about it. And if you have questions, everything's open. Like if you've got an ad, a targeting, a landing page question, that's what I'm here for. So I have basically some things that I can talk about, but I'd rather hear about what you guys want to talk about, because that's what's going to really kind of give you the most value from me. So like my 2-second thing on who I am, so you know why even listen to this guy. Basically, I run Facebook ads, and I have for years. That is my entire business. I do it kind of high ticket level under my own name, and then I've got a local agency which does kind of smaller ticket stuff. I've been running them for almost since they first came out with the first little bits of ads. We used to do all sorts of different traffic platforms. Now we focus almost exclusively on Facebook and Instagram, and the reason is we're able to get the highest ROIs with those opposed to the other platforms. So they work great. It's just a question of how do we put it all together. So with all that said, let's chat Facebook ads. Does anybody have any questions to kind of kick things off with where you're at, what you want to learn about?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, does this thing work, or we don't want to do the mic? We don't want to throw that thing. Overhand toss. Yeah, exactly. Catch.
Yeah, I wonder if there are certain things that we look for when our ads stop performing when they've been performing. So
cool.
I have an example of, I'm running 4 ads right now. One of them was like, less than $5 a lead.
Yeah.
Was like really consistent for 3 months. I haven't touched it, and all of a sudden it shot up to like $18 a lead. So, I mean, I shut it off, don't worry.
Yeah.
Per
Step number 1.
Sure
Yeah. Good.
It went over 10, I shut it off.
Okay.
So, but are there things like that we can look at so that I can avoid that happening in the future? Like warning signs, anything like that?
Okay, cool. So what we're going to talk about here then is when costs escalate dramatically. Rule number 1 is how long did it escalate for? Was this like a 1-day thing, a 2-day thing, a 3-day thing?
Full disclosure, I wasn't paying as close attention.
Okay, that's cool. It's no judgment zone. A week. Okay, so a week is long enough that we would make this decision to actually shut it down. And typically what we like to do is we give things between 48 to 72 hours to optimize, which means that we shouldn't be making a decision immediately after. So we don't want to launch an ad set and then panic and pull it down. So that's sort of step 1. Now when it comes to when things start to get way out of control like that, there's a number of things that can happen. It's normally when that happens is that's weird, right? Like it normally doesn't shoot through like that. That's rare. So if anybody sees that, yeah, shut her down, and we've got to kind of reevaluate things. Could be the algorithm, could be the audience is just burned out, could be just like it hit fatigue fast, which is rare. We'll normally see a trend. I think you did the right thing by shutting it down. I think rather than how to look for this happening is to have the pieces in place for when this does happen. Because anybody that's running ads, it doesn't matter how long it takes, it could be a month, could be 2 months, could be 6 months. We have ads that have run literally the same ad for like a year plus, still providing a good ROI. But there will come a point when that ad will stop. You want to have backup creative. So you need to have backup text, backup images, backup everything all the time. To give you, now I know that I'm kind of a big Facebook nerd, but the reality is I probably write an ad a day at least. At least. If it was my own business like that, I'd be writing one every couple days. I'd go through it, just write it out, take a look at it, have it in the back pocket. One of the things that we touched on earlier when Chris and Taylor were talking was the kind of the testing aspect. When Taylor was talking about like creating all those assets, I was sitting in the back of the room like all excited because I was like, yeah, create more assets. And the reality is I don't think you can have enough assets. Because you never know what's going to connect and hook with your audience. Like we just don't know. Even seasoned copywriters, like we think we know, we have a pretty good idea, but sometimes I'll put up like, Glenn and I were talking about this the other day, like we'll put up this really awesome picture, high contrast, beautiful colors, and then we'll put up like a cross-eyed cat. And like the cross-eyed cat will just crush it. We're like, why? Why? And so we got to have those backups. So long answer, makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so in regards to looking for trends, basically just watch what happens, 48, 72 hours. Pull her down, put up some new creative.
And you just delete that ad completely?
I'd pause it. Pause it. Yeah, the only time I delete an ad is if it gets denied. That's when we delete them, and that's to keep our accounts safe. Otherwise, don't delete the ads, just pause it. Because rule of thumb, what we find is that if an ad set performed well in the past, it might perform well again. It's just probably burned out. So that's why we have these creatives, so we can rotate through them. We'll pause it for 3 months and put it back on. Hey, look at that. Or we'll test it with different placements, especially if the ad has a lot of social proof on it, is we can go into the page post and like take that ad and put it in different placements. And is that all making sense? How many people have run Facebook ads here? Good, pretty much everybody. Okay, right on. Good, good, good. Okay, yeah.
So,
what's that thing called? A cat's box. Better
so
word.
my question would be, so for people that, like myself, that are not like all about creating assets, like that's work, right? Like a lot of work, it doesn't come naturally. Like is there, what's sort of like the 80-20 like formula for creating an ad? Like, what's for like kind of what we sell, and maybe that's not a good question, but that's like I need sort of a formula. I could be like, okay, I'm gonna write an ad today. What do I do?
Okay, good question. Basic ad structure, where to start? I got some notes on this, so I'm glad you asked that. A lot of people don't want to write ad copy. I get that. I don't get it, but so I can understand where you're coming from. I love writing ad copy. But again, it's a skill that you develop. I think the first time I wrote an ad, I wish I saved it. It was like looking back to how I used to write ads, they were probably terrible. But they only get better when you test them, when you put it out to the market, and then nobody comments and nobody shares it, and you're like, that's a bad ad. We'll just take that down, and nobody has to know. And that's the beauty of Facebook ads, is that no one really knows. They'll like see this ad, and then the people will never see it again. You'll be like, cool, I just tested that for like $20 or $30. We now know what doesn't work, and that's actually important. So when we're creating an ad, there's a couple things. Let me make sure I do this in the right order to make it all make sense. The first and single most important element to an effective Facebook ad is the offer. What are you trying to sell? You can, if you've got a hungry audience, I forget who said it, I think it was Dan Kennedy. Like, if I had to sell anything, or had to sell a steak, what would you do? And all these people created all these ad campaigns and all that. He's like, the only thing I'd want is a hungry audience. And you'd win it. So an example I use all the time is this like, are you hungry? I have a sandwich analogy. Like literally, it's silly, but it makes perfect sense. And that what you're trying to do is you're trying to find people that are hungry, and you're trying to put your sandwich in front of them. So if nobody's biting, it's probably because we may have the wrong offer. Like it's not worded or phrased or clear enough in a way that makes them be like, I need that. Because if they need it, they're going to click. So that's number one, really good offer. The other thing you need after that is I like to have really good ad copy. And this is where it gets a little challenging to try and describe kind of like what's good ad copy. But what good ad copy is what I'm doing here, having a conversation. We're talking, we're uncovering pain points. I'm asking questions. We're trying to figure out what are we trying to get to? What's our pains? Our pains, how do we create an ad? So I'd be like, look, have you ever sat down at your computer and tried to write an ad for Facebook, and you're just staring at that blank screen of death, and you're like, what am I going to write? Well, that's the opening to our ad. So I always start with a call-out question. This is a question that your ideal target market would naturally answer yes to. The reason that I like this is because our brains naturally want to answer these type of questions. It also immediately calls out who we're trying to get to. So huge, call-out question. The beauty here is that it makes the targeting a lot easier because we can use a lot more kind of open targeting when we're doing our heavy lifting with our ad copy. So in regards to your question of like, yeah, that sounds like a lot of work, it's a lot of work. Like it's a lot of work, but you'll get better, right? And it becomes so much more valuable because as you get better at learning those call-out questions, you're going to be able to get better results and you're going to better resonate with the audience and so on. So yeah, that call-out question is key. Like you can even be specific. Like say, I don't know, say you're targeting dentists in Milwaukee. Like, are you a dentist in Milwaukee? I'm not against using that. Like that's totally cool. I think a big question and a big problem people have when they're thinking up ad copy is they prioritized, hey, this might be a good one to write down. They gave me Christmas colors, which is very festive. So let's, we'll write green for good. Clarity over creativity. Clarity over creativity. Most of the ads I critique are just oozing in creativity. They're so good. They're so creative. They're amazing, and I have no idea what they're selling. Like, legitimately do not know. I'll read the ad, then I'll read it again. I'll be like, I don't know what you're selling. Like, break it down. That's because it's all creative. You see, there's something called a curse of knowledge, which means that you've got a 10 out of 10 knowledge about your field. Your prospect is at a 0. Anybody familiar with StoryBrand? Miller? Don Miller? Right on. Okay, cool. So he talks about this a lot, and he does a good job. And basically, you know a 10, they know a 0. Our inclination, our predisposition is like, oh, I'm going to meet them in the middle. We're going to dumb it down to like a 5. Ain't happening. They're still going to be at like that 0 or that 1. You've got to come down to their level. It is not your prospect's job to try to understand you. It is your job to try and simplify and do all that heavy lifting for them. You do not want them. It sounds mean, but you don't want them to think. Like you want to do the heavy lifting for them so that it's just like, are you hungry? I've got a sandwich. Like that's it. So clarity. Are you a dentist in Milwaukee who wants more patients? That's a perfectly fine ad opener. I've written many like it that have done just fine. And then we can go on from there and we can start to talk about some other matrices, and I'll give you a good example here in a second. But all clear still? Okay. So we've got our call out question. Now, one of the best things we can do with a Facebook ad is basically tell a story. Some people are going to be better at this than others, and it's a skill that we can work on. But essentially, there's a framework called Feel, Felt, Found. Everyone's familiar? So good. Okay. So Feel, Felt, Found. I know how you feel. I've felt the same way. This is what I found. So you're staring at that blank screen of death, trying to write that ad. I know how you feel. I've wasted nights, weeks, months, maybe even quarters trying to figure out the perfect ad copy. Then I found a simple framework that allowed me to walk through everything step by step. Now I crank out ads in 20 minutes that crush it. 10 times ROI with every ad, without fail. Click here to download your free guide. Register for your strategy session. So Feel, Felt, Found. It's great. The reason is because we're not allowed to say like, hey, are you suffering from back pain? Ad denied. Or you'd be like, hey, I suffered from back pain for 8 years. Well, that one might be okay. So the Facebook terms of service essentially are getting stricter, so we've got to be a little more careful. We can tell our stories, though. The point is we want to remember we don't kind of make people feel bad. So we got to make them feel bad without making them feel bad. It's tricky. You can do it. Yeah. All right. Anybody else? Yeah. Cool. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry. We'll go.
There it is.
Oh, yeah, our Chuck box. What's that? Catch box? The Chuck
We're getting
box. There. Yeah.
So if your goal is lead generation, so getting someone to opt in for a lead magnet or for a webinar registrant, what are your most effective methods for warming up a cold audience to make those leads even cheaper, and they should convert better down the road too?
Cool. So you're essentially asking, like, how do we take cold traffic and make it warm traffic?
Yeah, your best methods for doing that in order to get cheaper leads and higher quality leads.
Cool. Pretty much exactly what you said. So my best method is the way that we would just get rid of that step of how to warm them up by just giving them that offer right away. Direct response marketing. So we can talk about, like, look, we can give them content, we can make videos, we can retarget 50% viewers, make lookalike audiences from that. We can do all that. The reality is that often the shortest path is that direct line. So what we do is we take that perfect lead magnet or whatnot, and we stick it right in front of people, and we send people there. That's typically the best way. So then we take cold traffic that's never heard of us, and we say, this is something that you might want. And then we see what happens. And they, like Taylor said, and they say, no, we don't want that. You're like, okay, we'll just put that over here. How about this one? Do you want this one? They'd be like, no, we don't want that either. That's cool. How about that one? And they're like, yes, that's the one I want. And that's how we get cheaper leads, is we'll come up with like a really good lead magnet, and we put that right in front of cold traffic. Then from there, I'll work you through the funnel that I like, maybe on the whiteboard, because I got better marker choices. Ben, do we have any other cool colors or just my Christmas colors? That's cool. I'll use the whiteboard I was saying. Basically, the funnel that we work through then is how do we get them to like us even more, even quicker, and that's through this funnel here, which goes add to lead magnet to thank you offer. This is my $1 million funnel. This is responsible for some of the cheapest leads and the best conversions, and it is not complicated. When this one fails, we go like this. Add to offer. So I'll break that down just to make it make sense. Oh, you do have colors. I was just teasing, but that's so sweet. That's amazing. We're going to draw so much. Thanks, guys. Oh, man. Literally, I don't know if you can see this, but we've got like 8,000 markers. I'm in my happy place. So here's the reality, is that when you're trying to take cold traffic, you're trying to warm them up to get cheaper leads, the reality is we just want to try and get probably the cheapest leads we can right off the bat. Now, we can do that content play where we'll send traffic to, say, a blog post that's optimized and get them to opt in. We'll retarget them, things like that. Typically, the cheapest lead is going to come by just kind of putting that offer in front of them if they want. Does that make sense?
Yeah, could I just say that?
Please.
Have you found that, because I haven't started my ads for this business yet, my client kit business, but I do run some ads for clients, not as much as I used to. But what I found was that we might get really cheap leads from cold traffic, but they don't convert as well to the paid product as if we warmed them up first.
Okay, so yeah, so typically what we're talking about there is we still want those cheap leads, then we want to warm them up, then we can give them other offers.
Got it.
So for example, we're going to run an ad to cold traffic. Let's say we're giving away a lead magnet of whatever. They're going to opt in to the lead magnet, and then on the thank you page of the lead magnet, we're going to make our main offer. Buy this thing, register for this strategy call, watch this webinar, whatever it is. Not everyone's going to take that, right? Then we warm those people up. But we're putting it there for the 5%, 10%, 20%, depending on the price of our offer, who it's in front of. We're putting it there so they can take that opportunity and can take advantage of that while they're in the process of making these micro commitments. We want to catch people. This is the highest. Make sure I don't use the permanent markers on the whiteboard. Been there before. This is going to be, like this is your high converting offer. That's your moneymaker. So here, what we want, and this is what we found, is that as long as we can get some leads into our funnel, we can warm them up later. We'll retarget them with videos. We'll love on them through email. Give them all the content they want. We'll just keep nurturing and building and loving and loving. But there are going to be people here that want them. And all the people we retarget, we send them to this, which is probably going to be a webinar, probably going to be a strategy call, depending on where they are in our funnel. If that doesn't work, this one can work just as well. Add direct to webinar. That's probably 80% of my campaigns are ads direct to webinar reg page. The clients that I can convince to do the other one, we're often able to beat that. So we test either way. That make sense?
Got it.
Okay,
yeah, so the
cool.
bulk of your ad spend for lead gen is going to cold audiences then. And then
Totally. Like, because if we've already got the lead, then the only thing we want to do for them is give them another offer, right? Like they're already our lead. So yeah, they already know us. So we just need to find ways to, again, we need to create those assets that get them to actually take action in the next step of the funnel.
Awesome. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah. And chuck box. I'm just going to keep butchering that. Yeah.
So I had a question about, in your experience for service providers specifically, or I mean coaches, either way, you see a difference in behavior or conversion when you're talking about someone.
Dude.
What was that?
This is your conscience speaking.
That is super random and kind of creepy.
There's a cookie and some ice cream.
Is this?
All right, we'll take this intermission. The ghost of the Drury Hotel.
This is your conscience speaking. Wow. I thought I was just hearing that on my own, but
Yeah.
everybody.
I know. You know when you get the voices like, do I admit this or do I just go with it? I'm gonna probably need you to restart that question because we lost.
Yeah. You good? It might start
Cool.
again.
That's awesome.
All right. So I was going to ask the difference in behavior or response to ads for the same product from a brand versus an individual.
Oh yeah, okay, right on. Individual beats it normally, like 9 out of 10 times. Yeah, it's easier to market as a person than it is as a brand.
Right. Great.
Pretty much, case closed. Pretty much. Like,
Job done.
yeah, easy. Cool. We'll do our circle.
When starting a new offer, a new lead magnet, new offer,
Yeah.
when you're creating your first ads for it, are you optimizing for traffic or are you going straight for conversion? Is there like a method for that to work well?
Excellent question. Okay, so, this is a good question. I'm glad you covered that. So here's the deal. If you're going straight for like a lead magnet or a webinar reg or something like that, then we go for conversion. Right out of the gate, go for conversion. And the reality is because the algorithm has gotten so smart now that we don't want to mess with it. Like we just tell Facebook what we want them to do. Just give us this, Facebook. And they're like, okay, we'll do that. The way that's different is if it's really expensive. Like we're sending cold traffic to something that is just not going to get any conversions, like maybe one a day. Then we'll go traffic because we just want to send people. But the reality is, marker time. The reality is, all right, I don't want to waste paper. We'll do it on this one. Let's say that we've got an audience that we're telling Facebook to grab from of, I don't know, we've got it down to like 2 million people. So this is my understanding of how the algorithm works that they will neither confirm nor deny, but we're pretty sure, is that they've got different buckets. They know everything about us, everything, right? And everything about all your people. So when we're picking different objectives, PPE, we're picking traffic, we're picking conversions, we're picking video views, blah, blah, blah. Different people do different stuff. Some people are really likely to hit that like button and share it with all their friends, and they're never going to buy from us. Whereas some people are just going to stay silent, and then they're going to buy. Some people are just going to click. That's why we now have traffic or landing page views. Anybody seen that one? So now we have a choice. Which one do we want to optimize? Just if someone clicks it or if somebody actually loads the thing? Who has the patience to wait a second while the page loads? Well, now we get to beat those odds. So the reality is that when we're picking between these people, there's going to be different segments that are likely to do that. And that's why, depending on the budget, I like to use a variety of them once we've kind of leveraged them. And this is kind of more advanced scaling stuff. But we'll pick conversions to start, and it's going to give us the conversions people. And then maybe we've kind of optimized them. Well, maybe we'll then get the traffic people. And there's going to be overlap in that, but that's basically it. It's going to draw from different buckets based on people's stuff. But really, the takeaway point, go for the kill. Like, what do you want? We want a lead. We want this. We want the conversion objective. Make sure your pixel's set up right. Make sure your standard events installed on the page. Everybody's using standard event codes or custom conversions. Custom conversions, if you can, maybe steer to the standard events. You'll often get different results. Random, hey? I know. Yeah, crazy. I know, totally crazy. When given the option, I'll run standard events, but I'll still put custom conversions as a backup if I have to, and I keep it there. But normally I run standard events because they tend to be more accurate, especially if you're running higher budget.
So with standard events, is there like a lead conversion code? Sorry?
Yeah, you can make up whatever you want. That's the other cool thing nobody knows is you should see my standard events. If you load the Facebook pixel things, I'll label them whatever I need them to be. So when I see it, I'm like, strategy session booked. Then I can have cost per strategy session booked. I'm like, I can dial it in right away. But just take the pixel code and stick it on the page, name it what you need, and then when you go to create that custom conversion, you'll be able to choose from the standard event. Super fancy stuff, but super cool. Worth learning. Yeah, worth learning. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, my friend.
So filter targeting to eliminate would be nice, but reduce people that just aren't going to come up with the money for you.
Yeah.
This is a challenge because I know there's lifestyle things that we can do and blah, 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 which include people as opposed to excluding them. The thing is, my ideal client probably doesn't have the money just sitting in a bank account, but they are going to find it because they need what we do. But they have to be able to find it.
Yeah.
So how do you effectively target for that filter?
Oh, so good. I'm so glad you asked this. So here's the reality of the answers that I'm going to give you. You might not like them, but you can handle it. Like what I tell most people is like, here's how we can do the targeting and this and that. The reality is our ad copy is going to do the heavy lifting for us. Like that's the reality is we need to spend way more time with good ad copy, good offer, and good, what was that called? Macro empathy? Like we gotta understand and we gotta know and we've gotta feel and we've gotta like, what are they going through? And what, like that example Taylor gave about the, I forget what it was, the Cadillac, or like you're sitting there waiting for your, I'm like, yes, that, again, I'm like, perfect. So like that's what we want because that's how we're gonna call them out. The targeting is important, right? But, so we gotta make sure that we're not picking like, if we only want, say, women, obviously we don't select men. And if we want like people in health and fitness, we're gonna probably pick health and fitness. But now we've whittled it down to 38 billion people or whatever it is. So it's still not enough. So it's important to get the number down to like, I don't know, 2 million-ish. But then from there, let your ad copy, do the heavy lifting. And don't be afraid to test. And again, this is where we talked about having all those assets. Again, I write a lot of ads. And like, sometimes they hit and sometimes they don't. And when they hit, I know it's not gonna be forever. So we get another one and we keep testing angles. And we never, it was interesting because the question came up, it's like, well, how do I know which part was it? And we may not. We can find out through like really heavy split testing. Be like, maybe it was this line or this line and we'll put it this against, but probably not worth it. Like it's probably better just to write a good ad, what you think is a good ad, and then try and beat it with what you think is a better ad. So does that make sense? Okay. Yeah. Catchbox. Thank you, Ben.
So when you're running the ads and like it's not working, is there like a way to figure out if it's your creative, if it's your copy, if it's your target? There's so many different factors that go into it.
Totally.
Like how do you know which things to start tweaking? And because I feel like it can get out of control really fast.
Yeah, okay, you guys have good questions. These are really good. We're gonna really get deep here. This is gonna be good stuff. So you put out an ad and it's crickets. What is it? Number one is probably the offer, right? Like that's really it. Like we're gonna come back to that. Number one is probably the offer. Like we just, for some reason, we didn't get it right with what we're offering them. Because again, if we were like giving something like, hey, free $1 million, like that ad's gonna click, right? Yeah. I know it's goofy, but like that's it. So number one's the offer. Number two is probably the message in it again. Like once we've done that call out question, hey, are you a Milwaukee dentist? I don't know, we're going with it. Dentistry is our theme today. Like that's it. Once we've got them called out, well then we can start to paint the story and all that, but we're probably okay. Like we're still gonna get clicks. Now, if we're getting a really bad click-through rate, easy way to change this probably with the images. Like we'll just test different images. Most people, again, spend way too little time, that grammar works, way too little time on the image. Like the image is a very integral part of the ad copy. If you're running an ad that does not have an image, stop it right now unless it's working, which we have to talk about in a second. Let's talk about that in a second. The second thing is that you've got to get a good image so it's worth investing in, and you want to stay away from stock or things that look like an ad. So, ad suicide. An ad that looks like an ad. Blah. Terrible. Like our goal with Facebook ads is to look like not an ad. So I'll often ramble. I'll like walk around my office and I'll be like rambling and I'll record it because there'll be good things that come out of there, and it's very conversational and it's very chill, and it might have a typo and it might have like an ellipsis and run-on sentence, and this will go here, and it might have an emoji depending on my market, and I'll be like, but it doesn't look like an ad. It looks like a post from my friend that's either really successful or really crazy or just started a bakery or whatever it is. I was like, yeah, that's funny. We're gonna share that. We're gonna click it. We're gonna learn more, whatever it is. So offer, ad copy. How's it look? If it's a wall of text, it needs fixing. Like it's gotta flow, especially if we're targeting mobile, which we obviously are going to do. From there, our image. From there, again, our headline, but that's gonna come back to the offer because our headline should mirror our offer. Again, from there, like clarity. Like if it's not clear, like crystal clear what you're doing. Like I think, what is it? What's a good example? It was like when I ran ads I had a Facebook ad image guide. It was like, hey, did you know that your image is responsible for 80% of your success? Here's how to pick the best images. Like it was a little longer than that, but that's basically it. And people are like, I can't pick images, so they would click it. But if I was like, do you know the difference between contrast and brightness when you're designing an image? And did you know that these affect click-through rates? Of like, they're gone. They're gone. So there's a sticky note that my buddy keeps beside his computer, and he writes ads. And he said they're already gone. I was like, oh, I love it. Because they're already gone. That is me, isn't it? Yeah, it's me. Good. Glad we figured that out. So they're scrolling, lightning speed. So that's where the image does, is it catches them. The image stops them in their tracks to get them to read more. The point of copywriting is the first line is to get them to read the second line, to get them to read the third line, to get them to read the fourth line, to get them to read the fifth line, to get them to take action at the end. Got to have a call to action. So all good. From there, placements, budget, tactics, all that stuff. Yeah.
So a follow-up to that one.
Yeah.
Is it worth it? Like I've seen some people, I think that somebody even recommended this one video in the Client Kit group where somebody was like breaking down how she tries like 5 different headlines, A/B tests them all, and then goes to different photos and then spends a few $100s, runs through that process to find something that works.
Yeah.
Is that something that you would recommend doing, or would you recommend? So like some context, we've run about 6 ads and they've not worked.
Okay. So are people aside from me, and before we talked, were other people looking at these ads, or was it just like you guys sitting there writing it?
Yes.
Okay.
And like some of which Chris even said like, this is phenomenal ad copy, and we were like, oh, okay, great. And then
crickets.
Right.
Okay.
Like, is it the targeting? Is it the copy?
Okay. So was it getting clicks but not registers, or was it getting like not even clicks?
Some clicks, but too low.
Some clicks but too low. Okay.
And the relevancy was too low.
Okay. So then it's a combination. Then it can be a targeting. So we do move on to that, like offer, copy, image, targeting. So we do have targeting next. Now, it is important. We do have to kind of dial it in, but we should be able to still keep it broad enough where we're getting clicks. Like if we should know, like we do know, right? Like they're gonna like this, they're gonna like that. So then it comes back to the offer. So and just how it's positioned, and it could be something small, but we've just gotta like approach it from a slightly different angle. What some people want, others don't, so on and so forth. Yeah, we can tweak it. I want to take another look anyways to see where you've got, but yeah, does that make?
Well, so like slightly broader question just from us though, like what is the methodology that you would recommend?
Oh, for testing.
And like sort of like the mindset as well of like, should we just write like a new ad every day and then just like build stuff up? Or should we like just take one kind of offer and try different verbiage and then keep tweaking that? What's the best way to kind of go about it?
Totally. Okay, so yeah, I may have swayed us too far on the write a new ad every day. I think that's an important skill to have. We probably don't need to write a new ad every day. That's a lot of work. But what we do need to do is work on it. We do need to look at it. We do need to approach it from different angles, get other people to take a look at it. I don't agree in creating a new offer every day. I think that's bananas. Man, can you imagine? We'd never sleep. We'd just be like, offers. So you probably have a decent offer. Approach it, how we tweak it and massage it, that's kind of what makes the difference. Like how it's positioned, that's where the magic happens. And then from there, like let's say we've got our offer dialed in, we think we know what it is, then it is just massaging the ad. I don't think we need a new one, but I think we'll need a new call-out question. Easy place to start. Like get them to read it. New image, really easy. Like we should be testing different images. If it's gone for 48 to 72 hours and you're not getting the results you want, cycle it. New image, new image, new image. What new test this, tweak this angle, tweak that angle. And if you start getting the click-through rates but you're not getting the registration, I forget whether it was Chris or Taylor talked about that congruency through the funnel. Who was having issues with that one? We talked about that. Right on. Okay, so this is something we call ad sent. And it's basically like I click on the ad, it looks this way, I get to the landing page, it better damn well look like the ad I just clicked, or I'm gone. I'm so gone. They're already gone. They're way past gone. And if they do stick around, you've kind of just lost that. Like you've kind of rubbed them the wrong way. So the headline on the ad should be the headline on the landing page. The imagery should be at least the same style. Now, when we're testing images, obviously we can't do that because we're not going to switch out 10 different landing pages. That's not time effective, cost effective. But it does have to make sense. Like here's your picture, here's that picture, here's this saying, here's that saying. So good. From there though, yeah, go ahead.
So when you talk about swapping out the picture, should we run a picture for 72 hours, or should we like start with an A/B test from the beginning?
Depends on your budget. Yeah, okay. This is the reason that we can touch on the tactics stuff because it's important, but it could change next week, right? Like this literally could change next week, which is why I don't want to be like, here's the deal, put this ad set at 25 bucks, put this ad set at 50 bucks, put this one here, put all these ads. Like some of the top ads people that I get to chill with, we used to do like 1 ad per ad set, always. But then we'll run like 5 ads per 1 ad set. And we'll put them against each other. And sometimes one will do better than the other. So there's no magic formula there. And that's the reason that I like talking. I was going to write those out too and have my converging points. Like strategy, tactics. Like that's all tactical. The strategy is the offer and the messaging and how we do it. That's important still. So how I would do it depends on our budget. If you're running, say, 50 bucks a day, I'd put 25 bucks in 1 ad set, 25 bucks in another ad set, maybe 2 images, 2 ads per ad set, maybe set it up like that and just see what happens. Facebook is naturally going to prioritize one over the other. Not necessarily a good thing, not necessarily a bad thing. So just keep an eye on it. It's an algorithm. It's math. It's just doing its thing. So that's where we got to kind of watch it. But one of the biggest mistakes people make when it comes to Facebook ads is making decisions with insufficient data. Kills me. Yeah.
Is there a difference in the algorithm based on whether you boost a post from your fan page and whether you use that same post from the ads manager? Because I've done both. And when I boost from the fan page, I get like hundreds of likes, and when I do it from ads manager, I get like 8.
Yeah.
But ads manager, I could target better.
Yeah. So technically, no, it's the same algorithm. But I guess here's the thing: is normally I'm not big on boosting because I like control and I like to be able to replicate it and dial it in and do all that. So I rarely / never boost, and if I do, it's like to fan pages or whatever, just because I'm lazy and just want to throw like 50 bucks at it or whatever. But we should pretty much always use Ads Manager and try and dial that in. Now that said, if for some reason you're getting good results with the boost, you could keep doing it that way. But again, look further down the funnel to make sure that we're getting what we need to. Because again, when it's drawing from like the people that like boosted posts or whatever it is, we might be getting a lot of engagement, but not a lot of the right people, or they might not be taking action. So we could get, this is gonna kind of go against, but like a lot of people complain about cheap leads, but we just need more of them. But like it really, I don't know, that's a very, very confusing way to basically say, if it's working now, keep doing it. But I'd start moving more heavily into the Ads Manager.
Okay.
If that makes sense. Yeah. Just, yeah, we always want to use that Ads Manager. Unless you got your time pressed and then chuck it at it. Yeah. Cool.
You want to go first? Okay.
The chuck box.
Thanks. So I have 2 questions in terms of just the analytical piece and understanding how to understand the data better in terms of patterns and what it's showing. So I'd like to understand how, when you look at the metrics, I'm a numbers girl, so I look at my numbers usually in the morning and at least usually at night. So I'm in it.
Fun.
Yeah, for fun, because I like to watch them.
Yeah.
So I'm noticing, right, when it goes up and down, and I think what I'd like to be able to understand is, how do you understand when the metrics are shifting, if it means it's optimizing, versus are there telltale signs in what particular buckets that would actually tell you it's starting to fatigue? So I know CTR is one, right, where we know it starts to fatigue, but like I've noticed sometimes my impressions, I had one day where it like drastically went down, and I was like, what does that mean? Is it optimizing, or is there something weird going on? So can you kind of talk to what are normal shifts because the algorithm's working, and what are shifts and in what specific ways we should look at them to know that that's a sign of fatigue?
Totally. Okay, great question. So without knowing the headspace that you're in, I would say most people panic too early, by far. Is that they'll look at something and it'll be just a weird shift. What could have happened is Best Buy just came in and bought up like all the ad space for your market. Like, this just happened today. They just ran a Black Friday sale or whatever it is. That's why seasonally we see ad costs vary as people run through different kind of markets. The big guys come into it's like the stock market. It's like we buy 1,000 or 100,000 or $1 million worth of stock, but they buy like $1 trillion, and the market goes like that. And we're like, I made a difference. So we don't really make a difference in the algorithm. We just play by their rules. Yeah. So this is where I'm all about trends. This calls for a new color marker. Orange, not my favorite, but we'll work with it. Trends. Without a D. Copywriters. Since when do copywriters spell? So we look at trends, and that's really it. It's like 1 day of really crappy performance is not a trend. 2 days, probably not a trend. 3 days, I'm starting to look at it a little more carefully. 7 days is a trend. So again, has it never worked? Or has it stopped working? Because this is important. I'm going to write this down on the other one. Oh, I'm just going to say it really loud. Everybody remember. It's way too many words. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Again, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If you have an ad that is terrible, it's really bad, it's got a typo, targeting's off, it's running to a crappy landing page, and it's bringing you cheap apps and cheap leads. My God, don't touch it. Just leave it. Leave it. Don't touch anything with it. Maybe incremental budget scale is probably the only thing I'm going to let you do. Like 10% every couple days. We're going to be so conservative. Like just leave it alone. Start a new ad set, a new campaign. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So if we see trends like that, though, however, that are starting to tank, and we've had like 5 days, 6 days, 7 days of like bad performance, and it's going to, this calls for our Christmas colors. Basically, everybody should know this. Not everybody does, so it's cool if you don't. But I just about did the stoplight backwards. Stoplights, just suggestions. So this is what we want to be looking at. We should have a basic understanding of our KPIs, of what, and if, basically, and we do, right, with our metric sheets and all that. So we need to know like where our ads are bringing us leads. When they're red, we just turn them off because something's not working. People get too attached to ads and ad sets. We can cut them all off, start them again, whatever. Like it's cool. If it's red, it doesn't matter. Like there's nothing to save. It's not working. Kill it. If it's green, that's great. We need to do more of that. We need to create more campaigns, more everything. If it's yellow, we need to fix it. Find out why. Make it a little better. Maybe it's like on the border of KPI or it's starting to trend down. But if it sits here and it starts to like sit in that range, I had a call with someone the other day that's their lead cost was well in the red and they were leaving it there hoping something was going to change. It's not going to change. It's unlikely that something's just going to magically bring it back to life. So kill it. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
cool.
Okay, so then I have my second one.
Yeah.
So to your point of if you have something that's working really well and you want to scale, I heard you say, and you mentioned it again, right? Don't touch it, duplicate. So I'd love to understand if you duplicate it, is it showing it to the same people?
Okay.
Or like, do I have to worry about that?
Audience
do I have
overlap.
to retarget? Yes.
The myth of audience overlap. Are you spending 10 grand a day?
No.
Then probably not. Okay. Like that's the reality is that if you look at the impressions and you look at all that, it's probably not eating itself like people think it is. Especially if we have $50 ad set budgets or whatever and we're duplicating them. As an example, I've duplicated, I don't even know, 10 or 20 times or whatever, and I watch it pretty closely. I'm still within KPI. We just keep doing it. Duplicate it, scale it, whatever. See if you can test from different things. There's scaling, anybody at the point where they need to scale and they're having lack of success there? Are we not there yet? We won't even touch it if we're not there, because that's another can of worms. Forget it then. So if you do have an ad set that's working, yeah, what you want to do is you want to drill down and find out why. Anybody familiar with the breakdowns tab in the ads manager? Figure out like age, gender, placements. Yep. That's like my best friend. I'm in there all the time, totally geeking out. Oh, men or women? Oh, they like that one. They didn't like that one. And what I'm doing is I'm finding things that I can duplicate so I don't risk the audience overlap. So like let's say I'm running an ad set, let's say $100 a day, and I'm targeting men and women, 30 to 50, open placements, all the usual. I've let Facebook do a lot of my heavy lifting. It's a good ad. I like the page. It's got the ID. I can duplicate. I'll drill in, and I'll be like, oh, we're getting, say, $3 lead magnet leads from men and $3.20 leads from women. Does this mean that I want to stop one and do the other? No. It means I want to duplicate it and make one ad set for just men and one ad set for just women. Separate it. Ooh, that didn't work. Okay, forget that. Try this. Because we never know what the algorithm is going to pick up on. Very often, we'll take an ad set and we'll duplicate it, and the new ad set will perform better or worse than the exact same one. And everyone's like, why? And it's because it's an algorithm. It's just numbers. It's making decisions based on people's reactions, and it's adapting to them. So if it shows it to 1,000 people, and those 1,000 people just had a really bad day, your ad's just like in a tank. So it's like, it doesn't mean the ad doesn't work. It just means we need to retweak it, maybe relaunch it. So yeah, cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. Nick and then.
Nick and then.
Okay. We've got one over here.
I have a quick question. And
Yeah,
then,
yeah.
whoever was next over there.
Yeah.
Are lead magnets or your offer, are those really audience specific? My assumption is yes. But I wanted to know if there's kind of some overall general, like a video versus a webinar versus a PDF guide or whatever.
Oh, like depending on which market you're trying to go after, or
just if there's like, in general,
best practices, like what to create for when.
Yeah, let's go with that.
Totally not what I asked, but okay, Adam. He clearly wants to talk about that. Yeah, no, that's cool. I think I sort of get it. So like, what kind of lead magnet to use for which audience-ish?
Yeah, just lead magnets in general. So you talk
Lead
about
magnets.
whatever you want.
Let's talk about lead magnets. Let's talk about lead magnets. So I love lead magnets. Love them. I think they're fantastic. They're amazing. They're so good because what they do is they allow you to give a little bit of value ahead of time, to exchange some data, to prove that you know what you're talking about. You can use different lead magnets for different objectives and different audiences, and different lead magnets are going to come with associated different levels of commitment from your audience, and therefore different levels of cost. Makes sense. It's cheaper to get someone to download your PDF guide than it is to get someone to register for your webinar. So what do? We use them all. Like legit, we use them all. So we should have a PDF guide because some people are never gonna watch a webinar, but they'll read a guide. We have a webinar because they convert like crazy, but some people just don't want to read. We have a video because who knows, maybe we can mash them together. Depends on, some people are gonna register a day out or an hour out, or they'll get that PDF and they won't even read it. I don't track how many people read my downloads, but it would be a small number. Like very rarely do I get an email, someone's back like, that was great. I was like, dude, you read it? Cool. Join the elite few. But that gives us the opportunity to then give them the webinar, to then give them the email follow-up. Like, again, we just want to like pound them with value once that happens. So if we're just getting started, I still like lead magnets. And in fact, I like tacking on lead magnets in front of core offers like the next step of the funnel, so for the webinar. And typically what we'll find is that our subsequent steps or our like webinar reg costs will come down because they've already kind of been warmed up a little and they've already taken that action. Somewhat on? Close enough?
Awesome.
All good, all good, cool. I'll take that box and I'll pass her over. Thank you. Cool.
What's up?
What's up?
So my question, back to the ad set duplication, is when you initially recognize a pattern around male versus female, for example, do you duplicate twice and create independent male-female and leave the primary ad set? Or do you split, go female, and change one to male?
Okay, so
I don't know if that's just an overanalyzing question.
No, that's good. No, that's perfect. So we'll take that main ad set that we duplicated, and what do we do if it's working?
Leave it.
We leave it alone. So that's rule number one. Like, I don't care what you do after, because we can turn those off. Like, we never mess with the main secret sauce Coke recipe that we've just like taking extracts from. Like, we just leave that puppy alone. From there, I'll do one of a few things depending on the budget I'm working with. Like, say I'm working with a few $100 a day, and it's a $100 ad set. I'll duplicate one male only, one female only, I'll just duplicate it just for fun. Then I'll probably duplicate it based on placements. I'm getting really cheap Instagram leads, Instagram stories. Obviously, we're creating creative specific for it, but I'll like run just a stories ad, or I'll run this. And here's the thing, is that even though in the main ad set where everything was together and it was crushing it, when we break it out, it might not crush it again. Because the algorithm, again, is going to draw from different ponds. So it's just something we have to be aware of.
My follow-up, and just tell me if I need to go rewatch it because I was out on a strategy session, but if you just lose your question in the middle, just
it's cool.
It's coming.
Yeah. We need theme music.
Oh, so when you duplicate, right, ad sets, and what do you have a specific like target kind of ceiling daily ad budget that you put on that ad set, or is that driven by the campaign level? Like, how are you managing those tests? And then ultimately, what the dollars that you commit, what does a trend look like to you? Did I miss that part?
No. Okay. So I'm
like when are you green, yellow, red, kill, die, done?
Okay. So this is based on your own metrics. Like, you need to know those, right? Based on like, okay, if I close 1 in 4 strategy sessions and I'm getting apps at $100 and I'm getting this at that, like you should know these. So I don't know those for you because they're going to vary. what my trends look like, I'm going to totally end up using. This is dry erase. We're good. That'd be. So here's what my budget typically looks like when I start a new campaign, is it goes like this. That's how it looks. Because what's going to happen is I'm going to start with a lot more money because we're testing, like rapid fire. I want data and I want it like now because I'm impatient. But I'm going to give them 48 to 72 hours because I'm not that impatient. I understand things need to go. The best advice I can give you if you're running your own ads is to set it as best you can and then walk away. Like just legit walk away. It's so
Literally
hard.
Don't look at it.
Don't look at it.
For 3 days.
For 3 days. Like do it as best as you can and then don't look at it because it needs time and it's so hard. Every time I've turned off an ad early has been my own campaigns because I'm emotionally invested. I'm watching like the money just like pour out. And I know it goes like this, but it's like it's emotional. So now I just like, walk away, go on vacation, lock your computer. So here I'll put a ton of money in right away. We're testing multiple ad sets, different copies, different images, all that. Then what happens is I kill all the losers. 70%, 80% aren't going to be what I want them to. That's probably something people don't know is that when I write ads, I write a lot of ones that don't do amazing. Kill them. Then I write some that do really well and I scale them up. So it's okay. Like not every ad is going to crush it every time. Like that's why we write so many. That's why we dial it in. Your percentage will increase as well. As you get better, as you know your market, as you learn your copywriting craft and writing ads, your percentage will increase. But I don't know, let's say we'll use $100, nice easy budget. So we're gonna start with like, our budget overall is $100 a day. Here I'll probably spend like $200 a day for like 72 hours. Then I'll kill it down to like $50 a day because I found them all, and then I'll just start scaling it back up till I hit whatever I need to hit.
Are you killing ad sets, or are you killing like placements within like?
I'm killing ad sets. Yeah, killing ad sets. But what I'm doing is I'm looking through the ad sets and I'm seeing if there was any winners hidden in there. So like say I have an open placements and I'm killing that ad set because it just was it was red lighted, but it looks like all of these things from desktop newsfeed for some random reason was just crushing it. Well, I'll duplicate that and I'll probably test that. And I'll use the same ads. So, and then we'll scale it up to as long as we need to, and then up to whatever we need to scale it to as long as it's providing ROI.
And when you're scaling, do you duplicate the scale or you scale that ad set?
Both. Okay. Yeah, when we're scaling, and again, we won't touch on this just because it's later, but there's tons of ways to scale. Like tons of ways to scale. People think of scaling and they get really scared, like it's just gonna shut things down because we've all heard the horror stories. People are typically scaling wrong when they're doing it that way. Like there's conversion objective scaling, there's audience scaling, there's placement scaling, budget scaling, all kinds of scaling. Scale here, scale there.
What about budget scaling?
Yeah, budget scaling is cool. I like budget scaling the most. I think if you've got an ad set that's working okay, 20% every couple days.
Okay, and it's the same ad set.
Same ad set. That's the only time.
Okay, that's all that.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it, unless the only exception to the rule, you can incrementally scale the budget 20% every couple days. No, because it's an algorithm. So like, let's say you've got an ad set that's crushing it at $100 a day and you give it $200, it's gonna be like, whoa, look at all this new money. Let's show them and show them and show them, and your performance will often tank. It'll often tank. Yeah, so 20%, and eventually that's gonna cap. We don't know where. That's the fun. Play the game, take the ride, buy the ticket. So like, eventually it's just gonna suck, right? And you'll be like, this isn't good, so we're gonna dial it down a bit. So what we do is we take it back 2 steps. Oh, don't make me do math. You're gonna make me do math. So like, this is not real math. But if you've got a bud that's doing this and you're gonna scale it like 20%, so you're gonna go to like 120, then you're gonna go to
132.
Is that 20% more?
No, 24, 40.
Okay, come on guys,
44.
We're smart here. 144, good. And then, what's after that?
72.
Good, close enough, 172, whatever, 200. So 20%-ish. So here's what's gonna happen, is that's gonna go well, you're gonna give that 72 hours, that's gonna go well, that's gonna go well, you're gonna see your CPA rise here. You're like, that's weird, then you're gonna put it there and your CPA is gonna go out of whack and it's gonna put you in yellow, so you're gonna just go like this. Well, we're just gonna take it back down. And you'll put it back down and then you just know that ad set's kind of capped out there. Kind of advanced stuff, but you can handle it. That's basically, when you've gone too far, just bring it back. Yeah. 5 minutes? Cool. 5 minutes. The catch box.
Who's taking the pass? Dude, I do not trust
Someone's gonna lose like a. Is that thing soft all around?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's soft.
Just wing it.
So this is kind of like back to the very beginning, because I'm not running ads yet currently.
Yeah.
So when you're starting out with ad sets, how many would you recommend?
Depends on your
doing?
budget.
Okay.
Yeah, depends on your budget. Like if you're working with $10 a day, one. 50 bucks a day, maybe two. 100 bucks a day, 3, 4. Yeah, totally depends. And it depends on how much new ad creative you want to write out. And if you're running like straight to a lead magnet, or if you're running like page post engagement ads just to try and get some stuff. If you're running like just page post engagement, you run 10 bucks a day and do it all day. But ideally, if we're going to go like to webinar reg or to lead magnet download or something like that, I don't like to see an ad set below about 25 bucks a day, just because we're not really going to be getting good data. Ideally around 50. So again, like let's say you're working with $1,000 in the whole month. You don't have to spread it out like over the entire month. Ideally you do, but like say you can only run it for a week here or a week there. The reason that that's good is because it's going to give you data quickly with properly budgeted ad sets. The reason that's bad is because in every month there's going to be a week or two that just are kind of out of whack. And maybe you caught that week and then you think your ad doesn't work. So that's why we like consistency and slow, measured. Again, most people make a mistake based on insufficient data because they just don't have enough stuff. So making impulse decisions with bad data and then swearing off Facebook ads or swearing off their offer or thinking they can't write for crap when none of it is true. Just bad math.
So within the ad set, then that's where you're testing all of the different aspects you're talking about?
Yes,
Like-
mostly, except for the ad creative. And again, we talked about like you can put one ad per ad set,
Yeah.
or you can put maybe a couple
Yeah.
in per ad set. And again, that's tactical and that's going to change what works best. Same with like placements and conversion window, like 7 days view, 1 day click, one day click. Like all of that is really minor stuff. Like that's not going to tank your ad campaign. And that's what everyone thinks, is they think there's a magic button that they can push that'll fix it, and that's not the case. The magic button is the offer and the message and the value behind it. So,
got it.
Cool.
Sweet.
Cool.
So what questions should we be asking that we haven't asked yet?
That's a good question. I don't even know the answer to this one, but it's like, what's the best? That's a good question. What is the best?
What's on your piece of paper there?
Yeah, I know, right? Well, I've got it all up here. What's how do I write ad copy? What's the best image I can choose? How do I choose an image? That's something we should have talked about. And should I do video ads? That's probably hands in hand. Should I do video ads? Should I do image ads? The right image can beat a video. So if everyone's telling you need to do videos, yes, you probably should, but you don't have to. That's it. It's really simple. Also, the video has a lot more elements to screw stuff up on. A lot more elements, whereas an image does not. So I consistently create image ads that destroy video ads, consistently. But once in a while, we'll get a video ad that knocks it out of the park. So images, spend more time. Probably our last question, Ben, and then we're, okay, cool. That was hardcore.
So this would be, I mean, for everybody here that's kind of on the CK method of, ad to webinar landing page,
Yeah.
webinar, right?
Yeah.
$100 a day budget, like 3 to 4 ad sets. Did you talk about this? Like what you should focus each ad set on?
Like what do you mean?
Like should each ad set be to a different audience? Should it be a different piece of creative,
Oh, okay,
also the
right
same
on.
audience? Should it?
Good. Okay, right on. So if you're just starting and you don't know what, ideally we should have, it depends if you have an email list or a pixel with some data in it or whatnot. Because ideally what I like to see is my best audiences right now, almost without fail, are a 1% lookalike. This is a good question. This is what we should ask. A 1% lookalike based off our webinar registrants. Or a 1% lookalike based off our completed applications, provided we've got at least 1,000. That's typically our best audience. So I like to get people there as much as possible. Then we'll test different audiences from there, but that's it. Now, before that, I think what I would probably suggest is writing out the best copy you can and then testing a couple different audiences.
With the same copy?
With the same copy. Because that way you can leverage the page post ID across those different ones. But make sure it's good. Run it by the group. Run it by people. Book a call with me. Let me take a look at it. Like, let's make sure it's the right one. But then we'll test the different audiences. Now, again, let's get those 1,000 people through, because the 1% lookalike audience off that is where we're going to make the money. Like this is
1,000 apps?
No, 1,000 webinar regs. Yeah. Like anytime we build a lookalike audience, we can build it with like 100 people. It's just not as good. So 1,000 is where like magic happens. But like we can do it on 100, and I would absolutely test it because it's going to auto update as well. magically. Thank you, Facebook. So yeah.
Cool.
Cool.
If we're testing audiences, does it still need to be conversions, or is it cheaper to run engagement?
No, typically it's conversion still, especially if your goal is webinar registration, optimize for webinar registration. Really simple. Like, don't try to game the system. Like, that's it. I think that's the main thing here is, like, don't try and game the system. The system works really well. Tell it what you want. Clarity over creativity. Like, just be straight up. Chat like we're chatting now. Help your people. You'll do great. Yeah. Cool. We're good. Thanks, guys.